Community Viewpoint.
And welcome once again to Community Viewpoint. Sorry if my teeth are shaking. It's still cold out. Next week, I swear it'll be in the 60s and the 70s. So welcome to Community Viewpoint. I'm John Pawlak, your host. Last week, we talked a little bit about garbage, about things that you throw away. We're going to be talking about some more of those things. We're going to be talking about recycling today. It'll be the same lady that was on the video last week. They've got some really good videos. Yes, they're based in New York, but basically every city's the same. Las Vegas and Pahrump, we have a lot of trash. We have a lot of recycling. So we're going to be zeroing in on recycling this week. But there's some facts and figures I'd like you to see, and I'm going to relax, and I'm going to watch it just like you are. So roll the tape.
What actually happens to the stuff you put in the recycling bin? I've always been curious, so I decided to collect the recycling from our office and bring it to a recycling plant to find out. Follow me, we're going to find out the life of our recyclables as they go to a recycling plant. When I got to Sims Recycling Plant in Brooklyn, I found a huge warehouse where 800 tons of recyclables from all over New York are dropped off by barge and truck every day. The plant was built in 2013 and it is state-of-the-art. It handles materials like metals, glass, and hard plastics. And after those materials are dropped off, they're sorted.
So we take all of those unsorted recyclables and we're pushing it through our processing system, which is almost all automatic. It's about 2.5 miles worth of conveyor belts, magnets, cameras, all sorts of other machines dedicated to just sorting out different materials. The sorting machine is very high tech and sorts 14 kinds of materials, like glass, aluminum, cartons, and different types of plastic. Once enough of a material is collected, it's compressed into a 1,000 to 1,500 pound block called a bale. After the bales are sorted, they're sold to third-party companies. For example, a bale of aluminum might sell for $800. Buyers then take that raw material, clean and process it, and turn it into something new. This process saves way more energy than mining for virgin materials. With the same amount of energy that it takes to make 1 can of new aluminum, you can make 20 cans from recycled aluminum. And using 1 ton of recycled plastic saves 16 barrels of oil. You have to think about all this stuff as coming from the earth, right? There's natural resources, oil, and all these plastics. And once you put it in the trash, it's going to a landfill or it's going to an incinerator. You're never going to use that material again. So it's super important we've got limited resources on this planet to use these kinds of materials as much as we can in the best way as possible. Despite the great setup at Sims, there are a lot of issues with recycling. First of all, Americans kind of suck at it. According to the EPA, about 75% of all of our waste is actually recyclable, yet our recycling rates hang around 34% nationally. That basically means that only 1/3 of every single thing we use and throw out every day is making it to the recycling bin. And don't get me started with New Yorkers. We only recycle 17% of our waste.
This is a garbage can right outside our office. You can see there's paper and there's some cans in there, cups. All of these things are recyclable. And they're in the trash right when there's a recycling bin right next door. Only about 50% of recyclables in New York City are getting recycled right now. And I think that's largely a result of maybe a lack of public education, the fact that the rules have changed over time. Maybe some people just don't care enough or don't know why they should care. And I think all of those kind of issues can really be addressed through education.
For their part, Sims offers daily educational tours of their plant in an effort to boost our low recycling rates. Low rates aren't the only issue, though. Sam also told me about another problem called wish cycling. That's when people put trash into the recycling bin, hoping it can be recycled, when in fact it cannot.
I would say it's about 10 to 13% of what we get is not something we want to receive. Those kinds of materials are maybe extra plastic bags, plastic film, maybe little bits of food scraps mixed in with those containers.
Wish cycling wastes a lot of energy and fuel because items are shipped to a plant like Sims, sorted, and then eventually just sent to the dump. I wanted to see if my coworkers and I were guilty of any wish cycling, so I convinced Sam to go through our bag with me. We're not wearing gloves because, is that okay with you?
Yeah, we do this every day.
Okay. By looking through our bag, I learned we made some mistakes, like putting paper towels in the recycling bin. They're actually compostable. He also told me important tips, like cutting down on plastic straws.
A lot of sort of single-use disposables that are really small, it's better to use less of these than to even try to recycle them, because a lot of small plastics sort of fall through the cracks in the system.
Reduce.
Exactly.
Sam told me that another huge misconception about recycling are plastic bags.
We get about 18 tons of plastic bags here every single day. Ideally, we would be getting nothing.
Plastic bags are a low-quality kind of plastic, which makes them really hard to resell. For example, in Sim's case, they actually have to pay another company to come to pick up the bags and recycle them elsewhere. On top of that, the bags get stuck in the machine and can break it. So, if you want to recycle your plastic shopping bags, go to a plastic drop-off at a retailer like Whole Foods. Or better yet, skip the plastic bags altogether and bring a reusable bag. It's important to note that every city is different, so look up what your city's recycling plant accepts. Sim's is one of the most inclusive recycling plants on the East Coast, and it accepts more materials than many recycling plants. But Sam told me to abide by the general rule. If it's a hard plastic, put it in the recycling bin. Seeing the 800 tons of recyclables at Sim's was insane. But that's nothing compared to the 12,000 tons of trash residents of New York City throw out every day. I know seeing that made me more conscious of what I use every day, and it inspired me to cut down on single-use plastics. But let's be real, plastic is still part of our everyday lives, and it's hard to avoid it completely. However, I've realized we can have a say in where it ends up, and while we're at it, help our environment and create a more sustainable future.
Now this site is a pretty good site if you're an environmentalist, but there's plenty of other news on there also. As you can see, I have our plastic bags here, and what do we do with these? We don't put these in the regular bins anymore. We put these in the receptacles in places like Walmart, and then we took a picture of the barrel over at Smith's the other day. So that, it was full, so you probably could stuff a few more bags in there, but that's what we do with the bags. We don't put them in there. That is for regular recycling. And you know where these are the 3 recycling bins that are usually at the Walmart parking lot. There's the biggest one. Unfortunately, I pulled up to that, and I've heard noises when I was putting things away, and I realized I looked inside, and somebody was inside. It's very dangerous, folks. Don't be doing that. You know, when we recycle our own bodies, we should do it in a more pleasant and respectful way, and not go inside a recycling bin like that. Here is the list on the side of the container that tells you what you can and cannot recycle, and it's very plain. And I also have a list that I pulled off from, of all things, the Prompt Nevada Recycling Guide. What I think I might do, I'll just send this to the library over in the reference area, and I'll have Amy have it over there, and she'll probably be able to recycle it, give you a copy for yourself when you go over there. But, so we know what goes in the basket now. If it's cans, let's say what's acceptable. What's acceptable to put in there? Aluminum cans, aerosol cans empty without pressure, foil, always foil, bimetals and metal food trays, and this is a point of contention in our house. Labels can remain on the can, clean only enough to prevent odors, and I was taking the labels off, and you don't have to do that. What's not acceptable is scrap metal, appliances, and cans with paint or hazardous waste. Cardboard, chipboards. Acceptable is corrugated cardboard, cereals or cracker boxes, shoe boxes, milk cartons in containers like this, egg cartons, juice boxes, frozen food boxes, flattened, clean. I'll be back. Here's the milk carton. Frozen food boxes, flat and clean, corrugated cardboard or chipboard. Break down, please, and place all bundles no larger than 3 feet and 3 feet in size. Remove liners from cereal and cracker boxes. We've seen boxes in there from 75-inch TV sets that people were just able to put into the dumpsters. Please try to break those down a little bit because like afternoon when the containers are there, they're usually full. And if you break down the boxes and the cardboard, there's plenty of room for those of us that get there afternoon. Glass is acceptable, bottles and jars. The metal lids go with the metal recyclables. And recycle only clean, unbroken materials because the gentleman that was inside could cut himself when he's in the container. Colors can be mixed unless otherwise indicated in labels. May still be attached. Not acceptable. Ceramics, tableware, Pyrex. Don't break the Pyrex. Windows, light bulbs, and mirrors. Magazines and newspapers, soft color books, cover books, catalogs, newspaper inserts, and telephone books. They still have those? Oh, we have the small ones that come with the small writing that I can't read anymore. Not acceptable is rubber bands, plastic bags, which we saw, product samples, water, dirt, mold, or contamination. Mixed paper is acceptable. Mixed office paper, white or colored envelopes, white or colored copy paper, computer paper, naturally wrapping paper, shredded paper, brown craft envelopes, and most junk mail that is not heavily glued or labeled. Not acceptable paper tissues, paper towels, neon paper, waxed or laminated paper, foil-lined paper, and do not include dirty or foil-stained paper, please. Acceptable plastics are plastic bottles, jugs, transparent cartons, and plastic bags, the larger ones. We're down to last minute. But those are some of the things that you can and cannot put there. And we got lots of other stuff that we don't have the time to talk about that, but I brought them just in case for show and tell. If you want to learn more about recycling, there's the Earth Day event. That'll be happening April 20th at Discovery Park. We'll be talking about that in the coming weeks and months also. So there's like 2 more months left. But anyway, hopefully you learned a little bit more. You can always talk to the folks at Pro Valley Disposal when you go to pay your bill or whatever you have. They have this disposal up there also. So we thank you once again for coming and watching with us and spending some time with me and listening to me ramble on. Did you see the plastic straws in his hand? That's a no-no. It's always paper straws now. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Community Viewpoint.